So this Torah has a very interesting history behind it. It is a story actually of survival of the Jewish people. I'll take you back to the earliest known time that we knew this Torah was being used, which was August of 1941. My great-grandfather and his family were in a little town in eastern Poland called Ostrog. And the Einsatzgruppe and the Nazi stormtroopers came into eastern Poland and killed all 9,000 Jews in one day, shot them and put them in a mass grave in that town. My great-grandfather, my great-grandmother being two of those people, and lots of cousins. We knew nothing about that town and nothing about this Torah until approximately 1992. In 1990, I began a genealogical search of our family, found where the town was, and in 1991, I sent a person to the town. She discovered that the Torahs that had been in the town, which had been taken by the Ukrainians into a warehouse and stored, were in the town in 1991. And through a whole sort of machinations that we created, we were able to get this Torah out. Turns out that my great-grandfather, who was murdered by the Nazis, was the Gabbai at that synagogue. And so he had actually touched this Torah. I was able to get the Torah out, and in 1992, Pam, our daughter, who had her bat mitzvah here, read from this Torah. She was the first person to actually read from this Torah since 1941. The first woman, obviously, to ever read from this Torah. And so it has tremendous meaning to me and our family, and I think to the synagogue. It's an incredible story, I think, the way we were able to get the Torah out, and the fact that the Torah actually survived is even more amazing. So it has great significance to us. We had the Torah restored in 1991 after we got it out, but there's a little bit of a preamble to that. When we found out that the Torah was back in the United States through the agent that I used to get the Torah, I drove up to North Jersey to get it, and on that day there was a tremendous storm. And on the way up they announced actually that there was a tornado on Staten Island. Now, that is something that doesn't happen very often. So I began to wonder, I'm going to pick up the Torah, which was now in the US. Maybe I had disturbed something in the heavens or something by getting the Torah out. I got the Torah, and as soon as I put it in the car and transported it, the skies opened up with the worst storm I've ever driven through. I had to actually stop the car on the New Jersey Turnpike, and I turned around to make sure that the Torah wasn't doing anything funny in my car. I'm not superstitious, but it was an interesting day. When I got home, I called Rabbi Lewis, and I described the story, how we emancipated this Torah, how I now had it, and he said to me on the phone, he said, "Arnie, do you know what you've done?" And I began to think, oh my God, I disturbed the final resting place of the Torah by getting it out of the Ukraine. What did I do? And he said, what you did was you actually saved a Jewish life. And by that he told me a story. The Knights of Malta, in the 1400s or the 1300s, whenever they existed, actually used to ransom Jews. And that's how they made their fortune. And they would capture a Jew, take him kidnap him, and then send a note to the town telling them that they had him, and then Jews would send money to get the person out of kidnap status. And he said to me, what you had done was, I had done the same thing, that I had rescued this Torah, which meant there was a Jewish life. So we had a tziyum for the Torah once we had it in our house. And we invited Rabbi Lewis and a whole host of friends at the time, and it was quite a celebration. But the thing that means the most to us is that the Torah lives, it's here at TBS, and it will be here forever. So it has tremendous meaning to our family. Thank you.